So once I got into PT school and I met these amazing people that was helping me to get through the journey of being a graduate student and all that came with that, we began to learn about being able to specialize in different areas of physical therapy. And I never really thought about it, but when they started to list the different specialties that you could go into, which are quite a few, one that stuck with me was geriatrics. Now, a lot of people, when they first get into PT, it's more for like, oh, athletics, or I want to work with sports. I want to, work with younger people pretty much, or babies. I want to work with the babies or pediatrics and things like that. But that was not my calling. I had a desire that I believe was put in me a long time ago, but it was finally realized as I was going through school and learning about the different ways that I could serve. It was geriatrics. Just a little backstory. Growing up, I was very close to my grandparents. And in particular, my grandmother, I grew up seeing her taking care of her grandmother. She lived with them, she did everything for them. Every day they're getting their mat baths, they're getting dressed, they're getting their food, they're being helped into the chair because my great great grandmother, that's who she was taking care of, she was an amputee, and so she was missing one leg. But my grandma, she made sure my grandmother was up in her chair. She was up to the chair for her meals. When we would come over, we'd be able to see her. And so I've always had this positive view of caring for older adults. And so, in seeing that, my grandmother allowed us to be able to help with that. Now, we obviously showed an interest because, if we weren't interested, we wouldn't have been doing it. Like, she wouldn't make us do it. Um, but we showed a genuine interest in wanting to help. And so, I had the opportunity to be able to help serve my great great grandmother and being able to help my grandmother to turn her and to get her up and to get her dressed and to groom her, just helping to keep a sense of normalcy in her life. And so that was one way. Another way was my great great grandmother. She lived by herself. She was a widow, but she had double knee replacements. I remember when we were younger. And so I don't know how it came about, but me and my one of my younger sisters volunteered to go to her house and stay with her a few days after she had her double knee replacement. Now let me let you know, my great grandmother's a tough cookie, and she did not need our help. We were basically there just to help her with, like, preparing meals and stuff like that, because of course she had both of her knees done at the same time. She was able to move around and everything, but we were just there just to kind of do some of the things that she normally did, but was just kind of set back a little bit. But we didn't stay there long, probably just a few days, and that was just such a privilege. And so when I was in school and they were talking about geriatrics, I was able to reflect on those moments. And I feel like they were moments that were preparing me and preparing my mind and my heart for my greater calling of working with older individuals. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from those experiences was seeing older individuals being treated with dignity and respect, and regardless of the medical conditions they had, diabetes, having had an amputation, having had a stroke, having had double knee replacements, I never saw them as really debilitated, or that, they just did not add value. To me, they were still adding value to my life, to our family's life, regardless of what was going on. And so that helped me to make the decision, along with having a great mentor in my mentor, Dr. Ed Mulligan, And the professor also who taught the geriatric course, Dr. Patty Smith, after their encouragement, because I think I came to them and they were letting me know about residencies, and even then they were encouraging me and letting me know that, like, yeah, you can do it, especially if it's something that you're passionate about. And looking back, I believe that they saw that I had the potential to do that and I had the heart to do it, because they worked a long time. They knew what it would take, what it entails, and they were just such encouragements in that area. So in PT school, I didn't know how I was going to get there. I was still kind of learning, what it took to do that, because that's after graduation. That's, to further your career after you're out of school. So I wasn't completely sure how I was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted to work with the older population. And so that began to spearhead my journey towards the end of my internships, because I worked in a nursing home, I did outpatient, and I worked at the VA, acute care hospital, for my internships, just trying to figure out where my niche was going to be. But in any case, I was getting the experience that was preparing me to do my postgraduate work as in a residency for geriatric physical therapy. So for those of you, maybe you're already in PT school, maybe you're thinking about going into PT school, just know there are different avenues. We come out of school as a generalist. We know the basics about a lot of things. And depending on what setting you go in, you can definitely get experience in that setting and you can learn so much. I would just encourage you to get a mentor. If you choose not to do a residency, but you want to specialize in something, go into that field, but find one person that can kind of help guide you and give you insight into what it looks like to be really good at that job. Because ultimately, we're servants. We're here to serve, to help, to educate, and to help people return to a greater quality of life, whatever that may be at different stages of life. So next time, I'll be talking about my journey into getting into residency or not.